If you haven't checked out the release of the new Atari 7800 Plus console, you definitely should. It takes Atari to a whole new level, and a level that's compatible with time. Atari has also re-released several games that you can get right now for the new Atari 7800 Plus, and they are bringing back some serious nostalgia. Let's dive in and check them out. First up, we have Asteroids Deluxe. Asteroids Deluxe is a multi-directional shooter arcade video game with monochrome vector graphics, originally released in April of 1981. It is the sequel to Asteroids and was designed to combat the saucer hunting strategy of the original, allowing experts to play for extended periods. Floating debris from exploding asteroids bounce off the hull of your spacecraft. Meteors activate a glowing bank of proximity sensors while you hurl towards certain doom. You'll have to blast your way through a massive field of asteroids with your photon cannon to save your ship and your life. Next up, we have a game called Bounty Bob Strikes Back, the sequel to Big Five's Miner 2049er that released in very limited quantities for both the 400, 800, and 5200 in 1984. The game itself became super rare very quickly due to the extreme size of the game. Special rooms actually had to be made, which clocked in at 40K, which was larger than any other cartridge at the time. In Bounty Bob Strikes Back, you help Bob reclaim a host of new caverns in Nuclear Ned's abandoned uranium mine, while avoiding radioactive waste and mutant organisms, and foiling the plans of the evil Yukon Johan. On to a conglomerate of games all in one, Epyx Game Collection. The entire game includes the sweltering summer games originally released in 1984, the icy challenge of the winter games also originally released in 1984, or the gnarly ripping and shredding of the California games originally released in 1987. Collected together for the first time, the world-class trio will take your country of choice to the podium. This 3-game collection combines the best Epyx sports games into one cartridge. Compete in multiple events in the Summer Games, Winter Games, and the California Games, which introduce Pacific Coast sports including halfpipe, footbag, surfing, roller skating, BMX, and flying disc. Next up, we have a game called Berzerk. Berzerk is a multi-directional shooter video arcade game released in 1980 by Stern Electronics of Chicago. Legions of sinister androids are chasing and mocking you. Try to keep from going bonkers as you dodge robot fire and elude the villain's evil auto. Your objective? Destroy robots, rack up as many points as possible, and stay alive within a multitude of maddening mazes. Don't touch the walls, and don't let the taunting of Otto's robotic squadrons get to you. Onto a super cute little game called Bentley Bear's Crystal Quest. Bentley Bear's Crystal Quest is a sequel to the classic arcade game Crystal Castles that released in 1983. The game was made by Franz Lanzinger and ended up being his first game ever developed. Bentley Bear's nemesis, Berthilda the Witch, has exacted her revenge and stolen 5 crystals of life, plunging the world into chaos. You need to brave the various realms in order to recover each of the crystals and complete your quest. Along the way, you'll meet enemies new and old in this brand new game. Next up, we have a vertical scroll shooter that originally released for Atari 8-bit computers in 1981, Caverns of Mars. In 4014, Earth and Mars are locked in brutal war. Martians have devised a strategy to end the conflict by destroying Earth's terraform planet with their terrifying negabomb. 5 of those bombs are deep inside the Martian caverns, awaiting their final destination. To sabotage this plan, you must skillfully navigate your Helicon X spacecraft through the catacombs, activate the negabombs, and escape to the surface before they explode. This new 2600 Plus release adds a new challenge to the original with a new save feature. On to another collection of games all packed into one, M Network Collection Games. In 1982, Mattel Electronics spawned a separate games division dubbed M Network to create versions of its popular Intellivision games for Atari 2600. This collection includes 4 super fast-paced games: Armor Ambush, Asteroid Blast, Frogs and Flies, and Star Strike. Armor Ambush is a game that gives players control over tanks that battle one another over terrain that offers varying degrees of texture and traversability. Astroblast is a space shoot-'em-up like game, alike to Space Invaders. Frogs and Flies, where each player controls a frog sitting on a lily pad, attempting to eat more flies than the other. Lastly, Star Strike is a single-player game inspired by Star Wars, where invading aliens have targeted a super weapon on planet Earth. You control a spaceship launched at the invaders in an attempt to destroy the weapon before it can be fired. So many awesome games all in one. Next up, we have a game called Frenzy. Frenzy is a multi-directional shooter game released for the arcade ColeVision and ZX Spectrum in 1982. The game was released for Acorn Electronic and BBC Micro in 1984 and the Commodore 64 in 1985. Trapped in a bizarre, highly advanced alien maze, you've got to find a way to escape before your Lieutenant Lyra Nova is fried to a crisp. Standard sentry bots and skeletal mortar bots stalk you through hundreds of cells as you run for your life. Charge your phase pistol and enter the fray into this Atari 7800 Plus version of the arcade sequel to Berzerk. Face your enemies and fire, or be destroyed. Second to last, we have a game called Space Duel. Space Duel is an arcade game released in 1982 by Atari. It's a directional descendant of the original Asteroids, with asteroids replaced by colorful geometric shapes like cubes, diamonds, and spinning pinwheels. Your pilots are trapped in the distant sector of OPP-06, contaminated by rare crystalline space spores. The geometric spores are beautiful, but deadly, and they are everywhere. Nearby aliens have also appeared to stop the spread of the invasive organisms, but they are not particularly picky about aiming their photon cannons. Destroy the spores and defend yourself. The unique two-player mode tethers two ships together for interdependent action. Lastly, on our list of re-released Atari games is another delicious mix of multiple games all in one, RealSports Collection. The first games from RealSports were released in 1982 for the Atari 2600. Then the series expanded to the Atari 5200, then the Atari 7800, and then all the way to the Atari 8-bit computers. The RealSports games were Atari's first response to Mattel's brief dominance in cartridge-based sports games. There is an amazing lineup of pioneering Atari sports games with this collection. It's a collection of sports classics included in RealSports baseball, football, volleyball, soccer, tennis, and boxing, now available for the first time on a single cartridge, including the never-before-released RealSports basketball. The nostalgia is real with some of these new re-releases. It brings back so many memories and some amazing times when gaming was a whole other world. Don't forget to like and subscribe.